Okay, so here we are at the new workbench. I didn't want to knock too hard because honestly, my luck right now, everything would just fall apart. Anyway, so this is going to be a little bit longer of a video because there was a lot more stuff that went into creating this kit right here. So we'll give you a quick close-up of that. That is the one and only. So this is the high-grade Desert Devil Gouf. This is made off of the Gouf Prototype Demonstrator version from Gundam The Origin. It's a pretty phenomenal kit. So that was the base kit. So let's get into how I got from point A to B, all right? So when it comes to primer, when you're putting light colors down, you're gonna wanna go with a light primer. So for this, I actually used, oh man, I'm always unprepared. Every single video, I have this whole thing laid out and I don't even have the primer that I was gonna reference and then say. For that I used my now empty bottle. This was Hobby Mio's Gray Surfacer Evo number 203. Love this stuff. Currently, I'm using their Black Surfacer 202 and then base coating with white just to make a sort of grayish color, but that is what I used for pretty much this whole entire kit. So let's go down the colors first because the colors don't need a lot of explanation. They are exactly what they are. I think when I get into the weathering and stuff, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more detailed, but I can just go through the colors pretty easily. So the red you see on here is actually pre-thinned splash Sazabi red. Had to keep on with that Xeon theme, right? This is Sazabi red, and that's what I again used for the red on here. And this stuff is really nice, really potent, and I mean, it even looks good and accurate on camera, which is nice. For the black, I used actually not a pure black as much. I used Mecha Black by Hobby Mio. It's 052. And then now we're gonna get into the real nitty gritty here. All right, I'm actually gonna drop this down so I don't have to keep going up and down, all right? So, and you can see my shorts, oh no. So for this, we're gonna be talking about the camo, all right? So the camo was a mix of a few things. So let me get these guys mixed up real quick. Again, super professional, super fucking, you know, knowing what I'm totally doing all the time. It's been a while since I used these, so you're gonna have to bear with me here. But I used 4 different beiges to browns, and I think it turned out really well. So when it comes to the kit itself, usually what you want to do is put your light colors on last, but in this case, I couldn't really do that because my light colors don't cover my dark colors very much, or not as well. So I had to kind of improvise, and what I did was I just made the smaller, darker camo pieces, or I made the darker camo pieces smaller. And I did that with I did it with pre-cut masking tape. This is not freehand with blue tack or anything like that. I use pre-cut masking tape. I use pre-thinned, I use this, that, and the other thing. I'm a convenience builder, I really, really am. So that is what I used to get this effect. That camo effect you see on there, that's all from pre-cut masking tape. So I think that I went the right route with that because again, this was my first soiree into masking. So I needed it to be very clean and very crisp. And I think it went really well. And I will put up a picture right here. And then I will also link it down below if you want to get yourself some. I actually numbered these. So this one started with 1, which was the US Desert Sand. This was my lightest color and I just put that over the whole thing. And then after that, I put down my tape and then I put down a layer of camo brown, real light, real thin coats. Didn't want to have pooling, didn't want to have like layers building up on the sides of the tape so you could see that indent. Didn't want any of that. And then kind of repeated that process until we hit the darkest color. And that was pretty much it. I think that camo is a really daunting task for a lot of people, but in general, it is not that hard. I think the hardest part is actually getting a good camo on there, but I don't think that you need to go the hardest route for that. Like, you know, I have liquid mask now, but I still think I'm gonna use the pre-cut masking tape because of just how easy it was to use and how well it turned out, you know? So these were the 4 colors I used for my camo, and if you guys want a camo tutorial at any point, just let me know. I have a few camo projects in the works right now, but again, I don't think it needs it, to be honest. So once everything was said and done, now we had to get to the weathering part. Now I'm gonna take off a piece of this pretty vital accessory. So this chain was actually from a 30-minute missions, expansion set. Is a actual metal chain, and what I did for this was I used a similar weathering technique to the big guy here with one extra thing. First, I soaked it in Vallejo rust wash. I mean, I just put like a little dish, I put a bunch in there, and I let it sit until it dried, and then when it was just about dry, I let it hang, and then it dried like that too. Now from there though, everything that I do to this, I did to this. So let's talk about that, okay? So the big thing is that I wanted it to look like the mud had almost caked on, you know? Rained, maybe dried, stuff like that. And now it's not the most realistic, but it definitely turned out the way I wanted it to. So as you can see here, it's really extravagant. It's really like intense and stuff, and it probably wouldn't be like that in reality, but that's how I wanted to do it. But so to get something like this, right, or even on the bottom like this, I tried to put a red thumbprint as like my signature of sorts, didn't really work out. But to get this, right, basically what I had to do was I just thinned this out just a little bit with a little bit of acrylic thinner, just drops, all right? And then I just got a paintbrush or a toothpick and I just painted it on. Painted it. And most of the time though, when I wasn't doing something like this, I was just with the same thing, toothpick or a paintbrush, just dabbing it, just dab, you know? Another thing I did was actually take a sponge, a makeup sponge, and do the same thing. Put a bunch right here, scoop it up a little bit, dab, and then dab. And that's what I did throughout the whole kit. And it adds a layer of controlled randomness that I really like. And you can see that same controlled randomness on here as well. And again, I think it turned out absolutely fantastic. I really do want to know what you guys think now that I'm finally getting to the in-depth custom part of it. And so you also see some decals on here, and for those of you who don't know when you do decals, it's when you gloss coat your pieces. Matte coats can't protect your kits like gloss can. So you gloss it, you panel line, you gloss again, and then you decal, gloss again, and then you hit it with the matte. This keeps every single layer perfectly protected. It keeps your paint protected from your panel liner, and then your panel liner protected from the matte solution, and then your decal also protected from the matte solution. And it gets rid of those edges. It makes it look a lot more natural. See, like it's almost printed onto the piece, no border, you know? And that's how you get no border on your decals, by the way, is gloss over your decals, and then boom, hit it with the matte. So you may be wondering how I got the yellowish though. That came from this. Now, this is a pretty neutral tone, and you can see it's actually quite different than what ended up. This right here, Tamiya Weathering Master, okay? Now, the exact yellow is not this one, but it's very similar. So this yellow, you take a little bit of the applicator or a sponge or a brush, it doesn't really matter. And so what I did was I then dabbed that on the already wet or slightly wet to almost dry thick mud weather, and that gave it that yellowiness, and that matched with the desert sand and the camo brown. It fit the warm tones of the kit. So it was actually a perfect mix, and I think it all orchestrated and was orchestrated by me. Oh God, it sounds like such a dick. It all came together in the end, and I like that very much. And that's how you achieve weathering effects. Now, again, you can make all of this yourself. You know, you can add grit, you can add color, you can add just paint and stuff. Like, you can do that, but I just personally like the fact that boom, it's all ready to go for you. You know, you just scoop some of that out and put it where you need to put it. I've used this for other kits as well. You mix a little bit of of this in here, right? And then not only does that thin it, but it also colors it, and boom, you got gritty rust, and you can paint that on whatever kit you want. In the next upcoming customs, I'm gonna show you how I turn this thick mud that's gray into thick mud, you know, like that's brown. Not a hard thing to do, but damn, just the effects, they're fantastic. So getting back to this kit. Now the last thing that you may notice is not normal is this right here. It's the mono eye. So that mono eye is actually a rhinestone for nail art. I got the rhinestone off eBay. I got about 150 of them for about $8, and I just put that little rhinestone on there. Maybe you need to sand some of the black parts for most other kits, but for this one, it had enough space already, so I just plopped the little rhinestone in there and I hit it with the matte coat, and now you got yourself a nice little mono eye. And I thought the blue was nice because it reminded me of the oasis in the desert, and it's like, wow, look at all the stuff you have to get through to get to the oasis, right? So yeah, this is a commander type. You can see there by the fin, which I wanted to make it all red or an asymmetrical red. That's kind of my thing. I love asymmetric color schemes. And I think I can't gush about how proud I am of this kit. I've been wanting to enter into competition, but past work is usually forbid, so you know, it happens. But another thing you might not notice is that I actually broke a piece off in here. The thing is, because there's like already, you know, missing pieces and whatnot, it doesn't really look that bad. So this is also a reminder, don't be afraid to keep going after you break or lose things, okay? It happens, and it's not the end of the world. So I just want to make sure that you guys know not to give up. And I also put a little Xeon decals in here, just little added, you know, details and whatnot that builders or that I find cool. So yeah, there's really not much else to say. I did do a whole base and some beam effects here. Not beam effects, but I painted some beam effects to look like cannon fire. I'm not gonna go into it because it's really not the kit. You know, it's extra stuff, but it's really not, boom, the model kit that it came with. So, and neither is this, but I feel like this is pretty justified considering that most of the time I pose it with like this, like around its neck or flowing down the side here. So I thought that was necessary. But yeah, if you have any questions about any of the products I mentioned, I am going to try to link as many as I can down in the description in case you want to pick any of them up. These are some of my favorite brands, by the way, for pre-thin paints. That'd be Splash, SMS, and Hobby Mio. They differ in quality and in the way that they react, but I think, again, they're all phenomenal brands. And of course, you guys should be recognizing this if you've been in the model world for any amount of time, actually. Vallejo, they have amazing weathering, along with Tamiya with their Weathering Master kits. Now, check out all of these products. They are so user-friendly, and I think that anybody who does model kits can benefit from them. All right, so without further ado, that's gonna be the end of the video today. Let me know if you wanna, you know, get any info about any of this or extra tutorials or whatnot. And until then, I love you guys, have fun, builders, and hopefully a new video will be out soon.